So then right turn, and then come on. But I'm not. I'm kidding. It's like two places. And they haven't shown us how they're going to do it. Do you share it? Other than they have an agreement right turn over.
Yeah, like you say, announcements.
Let the record show it's 6 o'clock. We'll call our meeting to order. With the roll call, please.
Eddie Gokenhauer.
Here.
Linda Barnhart.
Present.
Eric Hall.
Here.
McKenna Norton.
Present.
Tim Lewis.
Present.
Daniel Gannett. Nick Deal. Derek Smith.
Okay, we do have a quorum this evening. We do have the agenda that's been sent out, but before we do the approval of the agenda, I'd like to insert just something real quick, and that is with the resignation of Heather, we now have some changes to the planning department's office, and I'd like for Brian Ross to introduce himself. I believe he's the Director of Community Development, and if you would just take the podium and let the audience know of any changes.
Good evening, Planning Commission. Last Thursday, County Council voted to a little bit of restructuring of the Planning Department. I was offered the Director of Community Development position, which oversees engineering, planning, inspections, and permits department. Along with that, they offered Laura Hoffmaster a senior planner position. Her responsibility will be overseeing of the department with current staff of Sarah and Monique, and she will handle mainly the administrative tasks, day-to-day interactions. I will oversee basically everything over top of that, their accounts, training, education, and everything moving forward with that. Any decisions that need to be made between planning and engineering, we currently do, which nothing's going to change on that account, is we basically sit down and discuss it and come to terms to an agreement on how to move forward with any situation. Along with that, just so the Planning Commission is aware, in my budget presentation now, since I took over the Planning Department budget, I do have in the budget for a new Planner 1 position. With Laura overseeing more of the administrative tasks, she will not be able to entail the current workload that she is currently working on. So we're going to get a Planner 1 in there to work under Monique and Laura to continue the turnaround times that are expected by the County Council and the Planning Commission.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, with that insertion to the agenda, could I have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Goff, second Mr. Gokenhour to approve the amended agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. Thank you for that. I guess he left, didn't he? Thank you for that brief introduction. I hope everything runs as smoothly through the planning department as it has in the previous administration, and if you have any questions, I believe you can go to Brian and he will feed down to where it goes. Okay, the next item on the agenda is our sunshine law, which is an opportunity if you have something from the community that you want to talk about other than a project that's on the agenda. Now would be your time to do that. You do have to come in and sign that 15 minutes prior to the calling to order of the of the meeting. There is no one that has signed in, so we'll move on to approval of the meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Goff to approve the meeting minutes, second by Mr. Lewis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. We'll begin our public hearings. The first public hearing is Pebble Ridge, Section 5, Phase 3F.
Good evening. The first item on the agenda is a request for final plat approval. Pebble Ridge, Section 5, Phase 3F, file number 2105-174. The developer is Collis Homes, LLC. The engineer is Gordon. It is located in the Hedgesville Tax District, map 33L, parcel 144. The property is located at the terminus of Duckwoods Lane, approximately 2,000 feet west from Route 4, Ridge Road South. This phase proposes 20 residential lots on 12.34 acres. Lots 43 and 161 through 163 are to be served by private well and public sewer, and lots 35 through 42, 136, 160, and 195 through 200 are to be served by public water and sewer. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance. Therefore, staff recommends final plat approval contingent upon receipt of surety in the amount of $973,800. Plat to be released upon receipt of surety and completed developer's agreement.
Do we have anyone to represent the project?
Chad Wallman, Integrity Federal Services, on behalf of the applicant.
Thank you. Okay, this is a public hearing. If you have questions or comments, it's your opportunity to make those known. Please come forward, state your name, your address, and any questions you might have regarding this project.
Move public hearing be closed.
Let the record show that there is no public comment. I have a motion by Mr. Goff, second by Mr. Gokenhour to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. The next item on the, I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Planning Commission members, do you have questions or comments regarding this project?
I actually had a question, and I know it's not appropriate, but just for my own knowledge. Why were there a couple lots on wells and not on public water? Why was that not extended to those lots? Were they like a residue, or the gentleman in the back got an answer?
Sir, you have to come forward, please. This is being recorded and the recorder can't pick up that far back. Could you have your, okay, okay.
The water department deemed that the water tower in Federal Department Run was lower than the lots served, the 11 lots up top. So those 11 lots had to be shrunk down to 3 lots to have 3 wells, but they were still served by public sewer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Any additional questions?
If there are no further questions, I make a motion we accept staff recommendations for final plat approval contingent on receipt of surety in the amount of $973,800. Plat released to be released upon receipt of surety and completed developer's agreement.
Okay, sorry. I have a motion by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Goff to accept staff recommendation, and that is to approve final plat based on receiving surety in the amount of $973,800. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you. The next item for public hearing is Owen's self-storage.
This is a request for waiver. The project is Owen Self-Storage. The file number is 2112-444, tied to 2110-388. The developer is Bob Owens. The engineer is D.A. Stansberry. It's located in the Falling Waters District, tax map 7, parcel 22.2. The site is located on Williamsport Pike, US Route 11, north of Grade Road, West Virginia Route 1. The developer is proposing a self-storage facility on approximately 0.88 acres. Water and sewer utilities are not proposed. The developer is requesting a waiver to section 801.1.10 of the subdivision ordinance 2009, requiring all driveways which provide ingress and egress to off-street parking areas to be paved. The waiver request is typical of storage unit development plans, and engineering recommends approval to the waiver with the following conditions. It is accessible parking spaces and accessible routes to the office are asphalt or concrete surfaces, and that all stormwater runoff volumes, quality, and quantity are designed for asphalt or concrete surfaces on all storage unit drives that are proposed to be gravel. Planning staff concurs with engineering staff.
Okay, do we have anyone to represent the project, Owen's self-storage?
Kurt Stansberry, representing the project.
Thank you. Okay, this is a public hearing for Owen's self-storage. Again, if you have questions, please come forward, state your name, your address, and any questions you might have regarding this project.
Move public hearing be closed.
Let the record show that there is no comments from the public. I have a motion by Mr. Goff to close public hearing. Second by Mr. Gokenhour. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Stansberry or of the staff?
Hearing none, I'll make a motion that we accept the waiver request in concurrence with the planning and engineering staff.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Lewis, to accept the staff recommendation, and that is to approve the waiver. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, the motion passed. Okay, the next item for public hearing is Butler's Crossing.
This is a request for waiver. Project is Butler's Crossing Commercial. The file number is 2112-446. The developer is Inwood Retail Ventures LLC. The engineer is Butler. It's located in the Mill Creek District, map 6, parcel 55. The site is located on Winchester Avenue, US Route 11, and Jarrettstown Road in the Mill Creek District. This project proposes a 44,540 square foot grocery store with an adjacent 14,400 square foot retail building on approximately 18 acres to be served by public water and sewer. The developer is requesting a waiver to section 503.b, table 5-2 of the subdivision ordinance 2009, requiring a 5-foot side setback. Engineering recommends approval to the waiver with the following condition. The fire rating of the applicant's wall, the adjacent wall, and the separation space, if any, is in compliance with West Virginia Fire Marshal's Office. Planning staff concurs with engineering staff.
Thank you. Could I see who's here for development, for representing the project?
Yeah, good evening, John Wright with Butler Engineering.
Thank you. Again, this is a public hearing. It's your opportunity to make your comments known. Please come forward, state your name and any comments you might have regarding this project.
Move public hearing be closed.
Let the record show that there is no comments from the public, and a motion by Mr. Goff to close public hearing.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lewis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Planning Commission, do you have questions of the staff or of the representative?
The walls that you're talking about, what is the R rating on that wall?
So I'm part of the civil engineering team that did the site plan, so our architect will comply with West Virginia requirements. It's more or less to create a contiguous shopping center, as you see retail adjacent to each other, so each will have its own individual wall in each space. But it will meet the requirements as conditioned in the agreement.
Typically, both walls would be defined to be a 2-hour rated wall. but we sent them back to the fire marshal to confirm because they can request an additional air gap. Some fire marshals take a little bit more liberty and may require more than 36 inches between the spaces of the wall. We weren't sure on that, so that's basically what we're sending it back to, is they comply with whatever the fire marshal says. Will allow the property line to go down between the center and the middle of it.
Okay, I mean, so more than likely you're going to end up with a 2-hour wall and a sprinkler building anyway.
You're going to, I'm not gonna sit here and say that officially.
Well,
So
44,000 square feet.
you're gonna end up with a sprinkler system plus a 2-hour wall on both sides.
Okay, thank you.
Additional questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, have ready for a motion.
No other questions. I make a motion that we accept staff and engineer recommendations for approval of the waiver contingent on conditions of the fire rating of the applicant's wall and the adjacent wall and separate space, if any, in compliance with the West Virginia Fire Marshal's Office.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Gokenhour, to accept staff recommendation, and that is to grant the waiver contingent upon fire rating of the applicant's wall and compliance with West Virginia Fire Marshal's Office. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you. The next item for public hearing is Meadows of Riverside.
Yes, this is a request for major plan change approval. It is Meadows at Riverside, file number 2010-284, tied to 2012-367 and 003-07. Meadows at Riverside LLC is the developer. The engineer is Frederick Seibert and Associates. It's located in the Falling Waters District, map 7 and 11, parcels 169 and 4. This property is located on the southwest side of Broad Lane and north side of Shale Pit Drive, again in the Falling Waters Tax District. This project proposes 261 single-family detached lots on approximately 73 acres to be served by public water and sewer. There have been no variances or waivers for this project. On December 6, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith stated that a review of the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance. The major plan change meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance 2009. Therefore, staff recommends advancement of the major plan change to the final plat stage.
Thank you. Do we have anyone to represent the project?
Trevor Frederick, engineer, Frederick Seibert Associates.
Thank you.
representing the applicant.
Thank you. Again, this is a public hearing. If you have questions or comments regarding this project, it's your opportunity to make those known. Please come forward.
Seeing no, ma'am, I make a motion the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Let the record show that there is no comments from the public. I have a motion from Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Goff, to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of the staff or of Mr. Seibert?
Hearing none, ma'am, I make a motion that we accept staff recommendation for advancement of major plan change to final plat stage.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Goff, to accept staff recommendation, and that is to approve the major plan change. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you. The next item for public hearing is Butler's Crossing Commercial Out Parcel 5.
This is a public hearing for a request for waiver. The project is Butler's Crossing Commercial Out Parcel 5. The file is 2112-453 tied to 2109-328. The developer is Inwood Retail Ventures LLC, and the engineer is Integrity Federal Services. It's located in the Mill Creek District, tax map 6, parcel 55.1. The site's located at the southwest corner of Middleweight Pike and Sophronia Boulevard, the traffic circle, which is in the Mill Creek District. This project proposes a 12,550 square foot retail building with drive-through on approximately 1.8 acres to be served by public water and sewer. The developer is requesting a waiver to section 801, table 8-1B, category 15, restaurant with drive-through of the subdivision ordinance to provide parking based on category 16.B, general retail. Engineering recommends approval to the waiver contingent on a note on the drawing stating that parking provided is on a shared basis at 5.1 per 1,000 square feet of gross floor area per the ITE land use 820. Planning staff concurs with engineering staff.
Okay, do we have anyone to represent the project?
Chad Wallen, Integrity Federal Services.
I have to ask, Gordon's not there anymore, or they just changed their name?
We're transitioning. Hank Gordon, some family member, has chosen to retire.
Oh. Okay,
Congratulations.
yeah, oh, good luck. I hope everything goes smoothly for you. Okay, this is a public hearing. If you have questions regarding this project, please come forward. Let us know what they have, what motions you might have in your concerns.
Move public hearing be closed.
Let the record show that there is no comments. I have a motion by Mr. Goff to close public hearing,
Second.
second by Mr. Lewis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Wallen or of the staff?
If there are no questions, I'll make a motion that we accept staff recommendations and engineering staff to grant the waiver.
Okay.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Gokenhour to accept staff recommendation, and that is to grant the waiver regarding the parking as listed in the staff and engineer's recommendation. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. That concludes our public hearing. Our next item on the agenda is preliminary final plat approvals.
Yes, this project is a request for preliminary final plat approval. The project is Falling Waters Industrial Center, lot 6B, 6C, and 6D. The file is 2110-376. The developer is Rental Properties, Inc., and the engineer is Fox and Associates. It's located in the Falling Waters District, tax map 14, parcel 11.16. The site's located at the intersection of Langston Boulevard and Lansdale Court. The developer is proposing the creation of 3 parcels, lot 6B, which is 2.3 acres, lot 6C, which is 2.1 acres, and lot 6D, which is 2.8 acres. Lot 6C has an approved sketch plan for a warehouse, office space, axe toss, and brewery, but lot 6B and 6D do not have a proposed use. At the December 6, 2021 Planning Commission meeting, the developer was granted a waiver to section 305.41 of the subdivision ordinance requiring lots to have frontage on a West Virginia Division of Highways maintained road to proceed through the preliminary final process. The following note was condition of the waiver approval. Any development of this parcel shall require a major land development plan to be submitted to Berkeley County in accordance with section 303 of the subdivision ordinance. On January 13, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter of approval stating that a review of the above mentioned project had been completed and was found to be in compliance with the subdivision ordinance. The project is found to be complete in compliance with the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends approval of the preliminary final plat.
Do we have anyone to represent the project?
Good evening, Steve
Steve Sianovich with Fox and Associates representing the applicant.
Thank you. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Sianovich or of the staff?
Hearing none, I'll make a motion, we accept staff recommendation for the preliminary final plat.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Lewis, to accept the staff recommendation, and that is to approve the preliminary final plat. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next project for preliminary final plat is Spring Mills Commons.
Yes, this request for preliminary final plat approval is Spring Mills Commons Lot 32. The file is 2112-441. The developer is Spring Mills Commons LLC, and the surveyor is Fox and Associates. It's located in the Falling Waters District, tax map 14, parcel 1.13, and is located on the east side of TJ Jackson Drive, south of Hammond's Mill Road. This project proposes the creation of a 2-acre parcel and an 18.3 acre residue to be served by public water and sewer. On January 13th, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter of approval stating that a review of the above mentioned project had been completed and was found to be in compliance with the subdivision ordinance. The project is found to be complete and in compliance with the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the preliminary final plat.
Do we have anyone to represent the project?
Steve Sianovich with Fox and Associates representing the applicant.
Thank you. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Sianovich or the staff?
Hearing none, ma'am, I'll make a recommendation, or make a motion that we accept the staff recommendation for the approval of the preliminary / final plat.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Lewis, to accept the staff recommendation, and that is to approve the preliminary final plat for Spring Mills Commons, Lot 32. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is request for reconsideration for Dollar General Middleweight Pike.
Yes, this request for reconsideration is for Dollar General Middleweight Pike. The file is 2111-412, tied to 2107-279. The developer is A&R Development, and the engineer is the Thrasher Group. It's located in the Mill Creek District, tax map 14, parcel 4.4, and is located on Middleweight Pike, approximately 370 feet southeast of Three Run Road on the left. The developer is proposing a 9,100 square foot Dollar General on approximately 0.74 acres to be served by public water and sewer. At the December 6, 2021 Planning Commission meeting, the developer was denied waivers to the following requirements: a 15-foot wetland buffer, 25 parking spaces in lieu of the required 33 parking spaces, a 25-foot buffer with screening between commercial and residential properties on the north and east property lines, and a reduction in the front 75-foot and west 15-foot setbacks. The developer is now requesting reconsideration of the waivers based on a December 7th, 2021 meeting with West Virginia Department of Highways. The engineering and planning recommendations stay the same on the waiver request with the 15-foot wetland buffer. Engineering recommends approval of the waiver. The on-site mitigation of the wetlands through DEP and Army Corps engineer will result in removal of the 15-foot buffer of the wetlands. The applicant has made reasonable effort to address the off-site portion of the wetlands with the adjacent landowner. For the 25-foot parking space in lieu of the 33 required parking spaces, engineering recommends approval of this waiver. The current standard in Berkeley County is 1 space per 275 square feet of gross floor area. The national standard from the ITE manual indicates a minimum of 2.65 spaces for every 1,000 square feet. So it's 1 space per 380 square feet, or 24 spaces. The applicant's justification states that the parking provided, which is 25 spaces, is acceptable and is within the retailer's standard for operation. Additionally, the site is isolated and no additional parking areas would be affected should the parking during peak times become inadequate. The 25-foot buffer with screening between commercial and residential properties on the north and east property lines, engineering recommends approval of the waiver. The use of the adjacent property is consistent with development proposed, and the inclusion of a privacy fence would provide screening. Also, the waiver to the reduction in the front 75-foot and west side 15-foot setbacks. Engineering recommends approval of the waiver. The retaining wall proposed would not extend above grade, as would a traditional building wall. The wall is necessary to provide the required area for stormwater management, treatment, and control before leaving the site. And again, planning staff concurs with engineering staff's recommendations.
Okay, do we have anyone to represent the project?
Good evening, it's Rob Milne from the Thrasher Group, and with me this evening is Andy Haymaker from A&R Development. Following our last meeting with the Planning Commission, when the waivers were denied, we had a meeting the next day with the Department of Highways, and we did hear the concerns of the local citizens loud and clear, and we discussed those with Larry Alt from the Department of Highways. We discussed having a center turn lane for that facility and eliminating a left out so that when you're exiting the Dollar General, there would be an island preventing a left-hand turn. So anybody entering the Dollar General would have to turn right upon being in the Dollar General. The other concern that we heard from the public was if a center turn lane was developed, then they would have to acquire right of way. We looked into this conceptually, and we don't believe any right of way would need to be required due to the existing right of way at that location at this time. So we're here to have you reconsider those requests because we felt that primarily it was a safety issue that was those waivers were denied. We believe with cooperation with the Department of Highways, we addressed those requests and might need to reconsider.
Mr. Haymaker, do you have anything you want to add? He did it.
Fantastic job.
He did a good job.
Yeah,
Good. Earned his money tonight, right?
No, I would just like to say that from a safety issue, when we met with Larry, we were, those sight lines, which I think seemed like a big concern of people coming over that hill. And I think we were able to work it out together, that a center turn lane is certainly more expensive for us, but we have, there's no argument. It needs to be done. So that hopefully addresses the concern of the people speeding over the hill. That was addressed. Where you get potentially rear-ended, we'll widen that. Larry did mention there was sufficient right of way in place already that we could do that widening without having to acquire right of way. That's what we got out of the meeting today, and some extent of the thing. And then we will construct the when you're turning left, coming out of there, we will construct a median that prevents that from being able to happen, so that the provided the Dollar General accepts that, we still have to go in front of them to get their approval, but we'll take that to them as a take or leave it. If we can just make it right in, left in, right out on the appreciate y'all's time and consideration.
Thank you.
Hopefully we addressed
Thank you.
those concerns.
I'd like to ask Mr. Smith, since you have given us quite a lengthy dissertation, do you want to add anything to this evening?
Yes, ma'am. So please, as we would request that if you do approve this, that it would be sent back to engineering with a revised sketch plan and all this information. We have not been privy to this or seen anything on paper up to this point.
Okay, so if the planning commission reconsiders, then it comes back to you for approval of the design, and then would it come back to us again?
Yes.
The sketch plan hasn't been approved, so yeah, so we both would get reviews. We've only done one review of comments, so we both would, have our second round of reviews and might go back and forth for another round, but it would be advertised again then for the sketch plan public hearing and come back before you guys.
So it would be another public hearing.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Well, yeah, it could be as many as two more, right? If you have you don't have a final on this.
Probably wouldn't be a final plat
Okay.
since the parcel exists, but
Okay,
there would be a sketch plan public hearing.
okay.
We just haven't seen this, we've heard it,
Okay,
but no one's put it on paper.
If it helps, I just was gonna say, we have copies, I don't know if it's appropriate to. of the
You
way
wanna
we
hand them out, yeah.
Redesigned it, what the, Rob, do you mind? Yeah, just, I didn't know if you needed that or not, but it's got copies.
And we would submit this with the updated sketch.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, that's the one,
Advanced order.
yeah, I don't have the,
They do that at
one
advanced
with the
order.
detail in here.
People run up over it.
this used to be the deli, right, or the store, what was the name of the store?
Just wonder what that about sheets do.
What's the name of the store that's up there?
Sheets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having conversation. Are we having conversation?
We can have a conversation, sure.
Yeah, I still have concerns, if I'm a driver, and I'm sitting at Specs Run Road wanting to make a left-hand turn onto 51. Today, I take a huge chance making that left-hand turn, traffic coming west on 51. And now I'm gonna have to look through 2 lanes of traffic to make that decision. Do I take a chance and make that left-hand turn to come out of there? All along, it's been my concern is the distance from that intersection to the entrance and ingress and outgress of the Dollar General. It is probably only 75 feet, maybe 80 feet. It's just not much space to make a decision if you're wanting to make a left-hand turn onto 51. And then, we just recently looked at another project where there's a good possibility that there's going to be a lot of traffic come out of the other side of that intersection, which is 3 Run Road. And a lot of those folks may be making a left turn coming out of there to go down 51 to go on to Leesburg and points beyond for employment. So to me, it's just the amount of space between that intersection and where the ingress and the outgress is just not, in my opinion, it's not in the best interest for the safety of the people that travel 51 and that live in that general area.
Are you referring to County Route 51 over 9?
What's that again?
Are you referring to County Route 51 over 9?
Specs
Yes,
Run Road.
that's the
That's Specs Run
Specs
Road.
Run Road, yeah. And I don't know if you know that intersection, the road runs this way, Specs Run Road comes out like this. So if you want to make a left, you actually, most
Yeah, you
people
can see
cut
it.
across the
You can see it
line.
on the drawing there.
Yeah, cut across that line, blocking traffic coming west to turn on to Specs Run Road. So you've got to back up sometimes there because they have blocked the way for people to get off of 51. And then same thing in the mornings, a lot of mornings they come off of 3 Run Road, they come way down in that turn. So you block traffic, and the people have gotten used to using that intersection to the best of their ability to make a left-hand turn in the mornings and afternoons, and then the amount of traffic that flows through there. It's just a real concern for me how close the proximity is to that intersection.
Does 3 Run Road run right into Specs Run Road, or
They run like this, but they cross the highway like
Yeah,
this.
yeah, but they are kind of across from each
Almost
They're
identical, yeah.
offset a little bit.
Yeah,
They're
offset a
not-
little, but not much.
They're not linear, but they're across from each other,
Right.
other. Are they east or west?
They're north and
north and
south.
south.
No, but I mean, where they come onto the road, if they turn, they would go east and west, right?
Yeah, they can go east or west when they
Yeah.
turn, either side.
So it is east of east of Specs Run Road. 3 Run Road is east of Specs Run Road.
It's across,
It's not right across from it, is it?
not across exactly, but it's
Okay.
pretty close.
But it's more east, right?
Yes, it
Okay.
is. Yeah, more east. than it
Isn't
is
there
west.
2 entrances off of Specs Run Road there, or not? Not 2?
No, there's one, and then there's one in Ridgeway,
Okay.
the back end, because it runs all the way
Yeah.
back behind Bunker Hill. And that, Specs runs down Trough Hill and around that way, and then Giles Mill back into Bunker Hill. So there is a lot of traffic on that road.
So what we're saying then is that from Specs Run Road to where you turn into the Dollar General, it's only 60 to
I think it's only
75?
about 75 feet, maybe 80 feet.
No, it would
Sis-
be from 51/9 with a full 100-foot turning lane, as you can see on the drawing, and a 200-foot taper lane. It would still be a single lane that you would be making the left turn on. So it's probably maybe somewhere between 350 and 375 from there to the entrance of the Dollar General.
Feet?
Feet?
Yes, 300.
It's on down below the old car lot.
It's going in
I have
where
the
Roosters
dimensions
is,
on that
but
drawing I just provided.
it's using the same entrance that Roosters was using, right?
Well, Roosters used the entire front. We've
Mhm.
kind of narrowed that down to a standard ingress and egress sign.
We have moved it down to the far end. The Roosters, you could just pull in anywhere and back out.
But it's using the original ingress and outgress of that parcel.
Mr.
Like,
Smith?
well, there wasn't one particular spot. The entire width of the lot, and how, the entire width of the lot was, you just pull straight in to a parking place. But there wasn't really a driveway in a specific location. If you look at it, this is just pull front of the lot. You just pull out.
Well, this is all
Where you want.
this is all hypothetical, right? Until you get everything done so that engineering can take a look at it, right?
Correct. We're asking for you to approve this so we can advance it to the sketch. To
I
the
guess
sketch.
the main question I have for tonight is, based on your meeting with DOH and what we see now, in both directions, on 351, do you have adequate site distance for stopping the current 85 percentile speed? In other words, what I'm saying is, I don't want to hear what it's posted. I want to know what the 85th percentile speed is out there now. Do you have, when this would come back in, I would want to know that the LOS, line of sight, your stopping distance is set for that speed in both directions. That's, I think, what planning commission deserves to, know. I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you know you can't meet that, I don't know that engineering can grant it, but that's where we're gonna go with this.
Correct. The line of sight, I would believe, would be to the
But you
west.
gotta provide the stopping distance for
Understood.
the 85th percentile speed, so what I'm saying is, you're gonna have to go out there and get that. That's not coming off the speed limit sign or the design speed of the highway, but we're gonna ask for you to go get that, because we're pretty sure that the 85% speed is higher than the posted speed.
Are you talking about a sketch plan review?
Yeah. I mean, if that's where this is going, to approve the waivers, that's where I'm gonna have to go to be honest. And that's even depending on whether you advance it. What I'm saying is, that's what engineering would need to see, which is a little bit more than what we would typically require at sketch.
Well, I don't know about the rest of the planning commission, but it sounds to me like if we grant this waiver, and I'm just speaking here, if we grant this waiver based on this that you've given us this evening, it may not still meet your requirements, Mr. Smith's requirements, whenever he does his full review, because he's asking for additional information that has not been collected or provided yet. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Because this is the first time we've seen this.
Okay. Yeah. So, do you want to grant the waiver tonight before we've had an opportunity to look at everything? Now, I realize that there's a lot of time and money involved in preparing these drawings and collecting this data, but with the concerns I believe that you have and that the public has given us at the other meeting, we deserve to provide that information, have that information provided to us.
I think Do I need to stand up or can I?
Oh, it's good to talk into the microphone.
I think, well, we can get that information together. We fully anticipate that. Our understanding is we can't really, I may misunderstand the process. The variance, we can't go to sketch plat without the variance first. It was just sort of, so, is that correct?
So yes, so the
So-
variances requested have no bearing on the entrance or anything that Doug is requesting in terms of traffic safety. The variances are to the design, kind of to allow leniency with, the retaining walls that are required for stormwater management and so on. So if, in requesting or approving the requested waivers, it really wouldn't have any bearing on what Doug is asking for, because there's still going to be concerns and questions that have to be answered in terms of DOH and traffic safety. These waivers don't really have anything to do with the traffic safety.
They actually generated a whole other issue in other words. Does that make sense? This is a whole other direction.
And I'm sorry if that was.
No,
I
what
think
we're
that's threw you a
saying is,
curveball. We just, when we met with Larry on site, it was, I mean, it wasn't a 3-minute meeting. We were there really for a really long time to try to assuage him, and because he had big issues too. It wasn't just, hey, I'm gonna do this. And so, you know, it was a quite a difficult back and forth to come to something that he was comfortable with. He's very concerned and was too. So I have comfort that he was comfortable, because it wasn't, you know, it wasn't just given because we asked for it. We had to really kind of put our heads together and say, well, if we do this, we go forward. So we will absolutely provide everything that's necessary. If we're successful tonight at the next phase, which I assume also will have a public hearing and all that. So I just wanted to let you know part of what that was we can't get to point B without going through point A.
Yeah, so the variances are for like planning requirements and engineering requirements specific to the design. So, from my standpoint, we can't advance the sketch without these variances being rectified, whether it be through waiver approval or through design adjustment. So, there is no sketch plan advancement or even sketch plan public hearing without having any type of variance reconciliation or design, like redesign criteria and stuff like that, so.
But now, if this body has the ability to change the protocol where we could bring them both in at the same time, we're willing to, I don't know if you're allowed to do that or not. You know, I think
The variances-
we're willing to go spend the money and do the sketch plat and
I mean, if you
get
can't,
it to them.
The variances here tonight pertain to the site itself.
Right.
This issue here
we'll have to be hammered out.
is a traffic DOH right-of-way issue that needs to be hammered out. Exactly. So you could give them approval for these on-site waivers, but this is a whole other subject of discussion between us and them.
So other than a sidewalk, are there any other variances available to ask for? And I don't mean to be
It's a
smart, but I'm just going down
it's a
through the
difficult
list
site.
here,
I
and I'm
mean-
thinking it doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit.
Well, we've asked for.
It would with
We tried to
variances, I
buy
get
more
it.
land, we tried to do a lot of stuff to get it to fit better. Variances. There, you know, that's why we proposed putting a fence or some kind of screening on the back. We understand that those are issues. It's just, that's a difficult with the other stores that are there to find the location that works. That I know a lot of people think it's too close to their store, but it's not from their standpoint.
Yeah, and I don't care about that.
Well, I
That's your-
understand, but within that area, it's just.
That's their building
This is
model.
the best
I
we
could
can
care
do. No,
less
I get
about
it,
that.
I get it. I mean, my point being is, it is suboptimal, but it's what we have, it's the best we've been able to come up with. And we can make it, with the variance, we can make it work. And we've, like I said, with screening or those kind of things, you know, we're willing to do what it takes to.
Okay, well, I
to make
think,
that happen.
yeah, I think what we're overlooking here is the engineer's recommendation then, is you're recommending that we grant the waiver for the 25-foot buffer with screening, right? And you're also recommending that we approve the waiver for the setback,
Yes,
okay? And that's the only thing that we're actually approving this evening,
parking.
and the parking.
The parking and the wetland buffer, since it'll be mitigated by DEP, and then the setback and buffer requirements, and that's only because of the retaining walls that are required. They're looked at as permanent structures.
So your concern, Mr. Lewis, is a concern that will be dealt with here,
The next submission.
yeah, the next submission. So we have to decide whether or not we want to reconsider the buffer and the parking and the side yard tonight,
Yes,
okay? Well, just plain devil's advocate here, if we approve these things tonight, then what's the next step? They have to come in for a sketch
The next
plan,
step
Cash resubmission.
they would need to resubmit and
and that would look
and then
more
that would
like,
trigger around the comments, which could request more information. I mean, at best, we would come back here and say we recommend final approval and tell you that everything's great, or we could come back here and say we can't break bread together, and it's put before you.
okay.
Would there ever be a requirement for a traffic impact study?
Unless DOH required it, it would probably be an overreach for us. I mean, however, we are gonna ask a lot of questions because there isn't, more than likely, it doesn't sound like DOH is requesting a TIS, which is why I'm requesting the data I am. So that's where it would go. I mean, it's either gonna meet the stopping distances and all those good things and the sight distances, or it's not. That's where I'm kind of going with this. That would be the review.
And if you deem that it does not meet those
If it doesn't
requirements,
meet what's
then
in
it would
this
be,
code, then
You
Then-
can see it before you.
you won't see it. I mean, you could, but it'll be because I'm saying no, and I'm not changing my mind.
gotcha, okay. And we hammered out that wetlands business, the gentleman that came in and said there, that to the west there was wetlands, and we hammered that out.
That was a different project.
Oh, sorry,
That was Goldfinch.
okay,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you're right.
Yeah,
There-
there are wetlands here. The client, I'm sorry, the applicant is under DEP with mitigation of the wetlands. They did try to buy all the wetlands, including that on the adjacent land area. They did make a reasonable effort. That was not negotiable. So they went to mitigation with DEP. We are allowing them to waive that buffer because the person on the other side of the property line won't do anything. So it's kind of pointless to have a buffer there, but it's still going to be settled.
There's I think the sign is currently there too in the wetland.
Yes.
There's like a billboard.
Right.
And actually, Mr. Goodman, right over earlier, we actually tried to buy right away to get over the specs run, but we didn't have to come out. So
Right.
We made multiple attempts to do that to no avail, so. I don't know if that's worth saying or not, but we made our, we've tried.
okay, planning commission members, I think we've discussed this quite thoroughly. I need a motion, and that is to reconsider the request for the waivers of the 25-foot buffer for screening, the side lot, and the parking. And this is just a reconsideration. If you still stand firm, then it needs to be said.
I'm struggling with this. I can tell you that.
Well, I'm sure. Ms. Norton, do you have anything to add since you're standing by here on the phone?
I know I don't have any further questions, but I will move the recommended approval for the waivers.
So you're suggesting, you're making a motion to approve the waivers?
Yes,
The buffer, the screening buffer, the parking requirement, and the fencing, right?
yes, as recommended by engineering and staff.
Okay, all right. I have a motion by Ms. Norton to approve the requested waivers, and that would be a reconsideration. Do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Goff. All those in favor?
Aye.
I got an aye from Ms. Norton. Do I have an aye from somebody else? The motion dies for lack of second. Motion dies for lack of vote. So now I need a motion to deny the request.
I make a motion to request be denied.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Gokenhour to deny the request.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lewis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
I'm only hearing one aye. Okay, the motion passes. The reconsideration request has been denied. Thank you. Okay, that basically concludes our meeting. Do we have anything under staff, council discussion, action, and motion? Anthony, do you have any good words for us?
Good words. One thing that I think is a lot of my attention is that Derek Smith will be moving to Texas.
Really?
What I said?
It's nice down there.
I don't
It depends. Where you going?
Oh,
We'll
no.
ask that he submits a resignation letter to the planning commission.
He is submitting a resignation.
Did you ask?
I informed him that it would obviously be easier for him to be removed if he had a resignation letter, but we haven't received anything from him yet.
Otherwise, the council would have to remove him.
Oh, I'm sure he'll
Yeah,
do.
so I
he'll
think
follow.
he'll submit a resignation letter. I think it's fairly soon that
Tonight was supposed to be his last meeting, so.
so. He's just moving Texas.
Took it early out.
Said, see you.
Okay. Well, I hate to lose him, but I
Yeah.
certainly understand if you're going to Texas. I'd be there too if I could, maybe.
It's way too hot.
Huh? Way too hot? Hey. You like the hot weather. Does he realize that to get to anything, it's at least an hour?
You'll find out.
Yes, he will. Yes, he will. Oh, it's Houston? Ah, Houston's a big town. Okay.
It's like an hour across the city.
Yeah, well, it's an hour from anything to anywhere in Texas. Okay, if there's nothing else to discuss,
Move to adjourn.
I have a motion, Mr. Goff, to adjourn, second by Mr. Gokenhour. And the meeting is adjourned. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 6:55. Thank you very much for attending. Safe travels home.